This is the second class on force and laws of motion. Here I shall complete the chapter. Actually, in the previous class, I have talked about the history, the genesis, and all the stories that were related to the development of Newton's first law, second law, and third law. I discussed about how the first law, the law of inertia, was first put forth by Galileo, and then it was developed as a mathematical concept more rigorously in Newton's first law. Then came the description of force in Newton's second law, and there is yet another law associated, that is the Newton's third law. With that, I concluded the previous class. So in today's class, my main idea will be on one application that's actually a very interesting application, that is called as law of conservation of momentum. Okay, so what is law of conservation of momentum? See, you need to understand this. In the last class, did you get a feel of what momentum is? Everybody? So here, now, there is a simple mathematical observation. Just look at it. Suppose somebody shoots a gun, or did you see a cannon being fired? So when a cannon is being fired, the cannon backs off. Did you see this? The cannon itself backs off a little bit. Whenever suppose there is a fire in the building, there is a man with a giant pipe which shall spray water. The moment he switches on the spray, he kind of backs off a little bit. Or you can see that if there is there is a gun and it is fired, you see the hand comes back. Did you notice this kind of observations? Yes. So all of these observations can actually be explained by this law of conservation of momentum. This is very interesting. First of all, let us look at what it tries to tell us. The statement of law of conservation of momentum. So look at it. Suppose the expression of force. Did you remember it is delta P by delta T? The net force, we derived it, the change in momentum by time taken. Delta is change, nothing else. How much a quantity changes? I discussed in the last class. So force is change in momentum, the rate of change of momentum. So can I write it like this? Now suppose I have a system. A system may be of 2 particles, maybe of 3 particles, maybe of any number of particles. Suppose I don't give any external force on that particle. So if external force is 0, can I say that delta P is equal to 0? So what is delta P? Can anybody tell me? Change in momentum of an object. That means final momentum minus initial momentum is equal to 0. That implies final momentum is equal to initial momentum of the system. Is this clear? The mathematical part? Now let me clear what this is actually happening. Here I am saying, so basically, did you see this? That if the external force on a system is 0, then the initial momentum is equal to the total final momentum. Did you see this? This law is called the law of conservation of momentum. Why law of conservation of momentum? Because the momentum is being conserved here. The momentum is being conserved here. There is no change in momentum. So unless you apply any kind of external force, any system, suppose it consists of 5 balls, if there are no external forces, the net momentum of the system will remain conserved, will not change. Is this clear to you? Shurjendu? Ankita? Yes, sure. I said, suppose there are 2 objects and I am applying no external force on this object. That means the force is equal to 0. So if delta P by delta T, which is equal to force, that is equal to 0, can you not say that delta P is equal to 0 as well? Did you understand this, Ankita? What is there to repeat? Force is equal to delta P by delta T. Do you understand this? Now, if force is 0, that is delta P by delta T is equal to 0, can I not take delta T into that side, which will also be equal to 0? So delta P is equal to 0. What is there which you cannot understand here? I asked no question. I was just telling this. I was just telling if you understand or not, that if a system may consist of many particles. If a system has no external force, then its momentum won't change with time. Its momentum would remain the same. Is this clear to you? Now, let us start with a problem. The first kind of problem is this collision example. Suppose I have two balls of mass m1 and m2. Now suppose this is going with a velocity of v1 and this is going with a velocity of v2. Suppose v1 is greater than v2. If v1 is greater than v2, then can we say that m1 and m2 will collide? Can we say this? Okay. So after collision, let me assume that the same mass m1 and m2, one of them has the velocity v3, the other has velocity v4. Clear? Now, what does this conservation of momentum say? That the total momentum initially is equal to total momentum finally. Total momentum is the momentum of all the objects combined. So this is having a momentum m1 v1 plus this is having a momentum m2 v2. This is the initial momentum. And what is the final momentum? The final momentum is m1 v3 plus m2 v4. Do you understand this? Don't memorize this. Only know that initial momentum is equal to final momentum. There will be many places where you will be urged to memorize formulas like that, but those are very illusory formulas. You may get into unnecessary troubles using those formulas. I myself got into unnecessary troubles. So it's best. So it's just best that you always go from the basics, from the absolute basics. Is this clear to you? You just remember this. The total initial momentum is equal to the total final momentum. When I say momentum, it's mass into velocity. So in the case of velocity, there is direction involved. So suppose I have yet another problem. Suppose there are two balls like this. They are coming near each other with a velocity v1 and v2. After collision, they will go like this, suppose. Clear? This is the initial situation. After collision, they go like this. You might have seen many examples like this, marble colliding like this. Yes? So now, what will be the equation? For these, see the two velocities are in different direction. So it will not add up. Okay? For that, you need to ensure one particular direction to be positive. So suppose I take this direction as positive. Okay. If I take this direction as positive, m1 v1 is positive plus m2 into this will be minus v2, right? That is equal to this is the total momentum before collision. Okay, because I have assumed the direction from left to right as positive, the opposite direction automatically turns out to be negative. Similarly, this will be the final, status, the final total momentum will be m1 into minus v3 plus m2 into v4. Are you clear with this? Good. That's why I said don't memorize, because there are many things that will prompt you to memorize once again, and you might just mistake things like that. Okay, so it's best to memorize, to know the absolute fundamentals. So in this way you can proceed to many situations. Let me give you a problem and I guess you can solve it. I don't know this much about guns. I'm not a gun expert. So here is a bullet. The gun is loaded first with one bullet. The total mass of the gun is 1 kg along with the bullet. Along with the bullet, I said. The mass of the bullet individually is 0.1 kg. Now, suppose it is fired. The total mass of the gun is 1 kg. And this includes the bullet. Okay. The mass of only bullet is 0.1 kg. Is this clear to you? 0.1 kg. Now, in the next situation, you fire the bullet. Now, the moment you fire the bullet out, I'm telling you the velocity of this bullet is 400 meters per second. I want you to find the velocity by which this will recoil. You know by experience that this will go back with a speed. I want you to find the speed at the moment the bullet just got out of the gun. Find this velocity too. Okay. So let's check out the solution. See, if you just apply your mind, this problem is very easy. There are two ways to do the problem, okay? First, you already assume that the gun will recoil in this direction. This is your first assumption. You already assume that the gun will recoil in this direction, in the back. With that assumption, initial momentum is 0. There is no motion in either the gun or the bullet, right? But the final momentum, this bullet is of 0.1 kg. So if I assume this direction to be positive, so that is 0.1 into 400 plus the gun without the bullet is 0.9 into minus v. Why did I take yes, I took minus v because I already assumed that the velocity is in the negative direction. Is this clear? I already assumed this. This is the first case. So I get 0.9 v is equal to, I guess, 40. So v is equal to 40 by 0.9, which is equal to almost 44 point something meter per second. Na? How much? 4 meter per second. Okay. Yes. So you got this one way. Other way is not to assume the direction of this velocity. You just assume, yes, you just assume the velocity to be in this direction only. In that case, you will see that 0 is the initial momentum. The final momentum is 0.1 into 400 plus 0.9 into v. You will see v will come out to be minus 44.4 meter per second. That means the direction you assumed, the velocity is in the direction opposite to that. Are you getting my point? In one case, you already assume that the velocity is in the opposite direction. You already adjust the signs. And in another case, you don't assume that and you get it automatically as reversed. Okay? These are the things that we need to take care, keep in mind. Olivia, Ankita, is this clear to you right now? Right? Perfect? Good. Very good. So, shall we solve another problem? This is all about this chapter, Ray. If you just learn this much, any problem you can solve from conservation of momentum. You just have to identify one thing. This is very important. See, in this situation, you see there is no external force. Do you see this? At this moment, there is no external force. See, the force of gravity is already balanced by your hand holding this. So there is no force of gravity that should be included here. So, oh, force of muscles. No. The force of muscles is only balancing the gravity, na? That is what I was saying. The muscular force which you are applying, it is balancing the gravity. So there is no external force. Are you getting my point? Because there is no external force in this system between the moment of holding it still and firing, So I can apply conservation of momentum. Do you get me? See, I said the mass of the gun along with the bullet is 0.1. Now if the bullet gets away, the mass gets 0.1 kg lesser, so it's 0.9 kg of the gun. So now let's come to the next question. You might have been with this experience all over always. So, okay, not a very good drawing, but it will go good. So, suppose initially you are here, standing on the edge of this boat, and you are about to jump off this into the land. So your mass is 50 kgs and the mass of the boat is 100 kgs, suppose. Now in the next situation where you jump off with a velocity of say 10 meter per second, find the velocity at that very moment of jumping with which the boat will recoil back. Is this in your experience? If you push it, the boat will go back and you will jump forward. You know this from experience, right? You need not even jump. Even if you just step in, you see the boat will go a little bit away. Did you see this? So this is the question. Find out how much velocity will be this. Find out the recoil velocity of this boat quickly. Don't get too much carried away by acceleration. Don't get too much emotionally attached to accelerations. Do you know what is the name for rate of change of acceleration? What is it called? See, rate of change of velocity is acceleration. This is just for knowledge, nothing else. What is the rate of change of acceleration? It is called as jerk. J-E-R-K. J-E-R-K. I shall explain this, okay? Jhakano, yes. I shall explain why rate of change of acceleration is called as jerk. Wait a minute. Of course it does, but it is primarily velocity. I mean, there are many factors behind that. शायद तो घुमाए पड़से आज के क्लास -5 meter per second. Okay, fine. So let's solve this question. Okay, let's solve this. This is actually very easy. The moment you know, the moment you have a conception of what this conservation of momentum is. See, that's why I told you not to memorize anything. If you go by concepts, all the physics problems will be very easy. But if you don't go by concept, each and every step you will get stuck. So the initial situation is there is no motion, so the total momentum is 0. The final situation is this man got off, and let this direction be positive. The man got off the boat. So the man is of 50 kgs. He got off with a velocity of 10 meter per second to this direction, and I have assumed that this 100 kg boat will be with a velocity of -v. It will recoil at that moment. Now, so 100v is equal to 500. So v is equal to 5 meter per second. Very easily. Is this clear to you all? See how fantastically you can calculate real life things without ever having to do this by yourself. This law of conservation of momentum, law of conservation of energy, law of conservation of mass, these are, yes, these are universally valid laws. Nobody can prove. Yes. See, let me tell you. If you go to a certain level, there is actually no difference between chemistry and physics. What is chemistry? Chemistry is a generalized version of, the physics of chemicals. What happens in chemistry, the reactions are very physical in nature. These are topics of thermodynamics, molecular physics, and so on, so on. Are you getting my point? So basically, if you talk in one perspective, what is happening in the molecular level is exactly what physics is trying to explain. So there is no such. In physics also you will study the same thing, but in class 11, or I guess in class 12, I guess. Now, my God, that is taught in graduation, when you will be an undergraduate, because that needs a mathematical basis which is far enough from your grasp right now. Are you getting my point? I can help you go in that direction, but first of all you need to complete this entire thing that is here in class 9. Okay, like when I was in class 9, I finished the mathematics and physics of class 11, and by the time I was in class 10, I almost finished the entire syllabus of class 12. It is just because of interest. So if you want to go forward with that, I can help you. I can surely help you with that. Okay, but better first of all, as from my experience, see, when I was in class 7, I used to read the classics of Stephen Hawking and Michio Kaku, and then Richard Feynman, Steven Weinberg, this kind of people. What I understood was, if you don't understand the basics, appreciating these classics would be very much problematic. So I would advise you, first you roast up your basics very well. The moment your basics are very cleared, the basics gets cleared from class 9. Then let me also share with you another story. I got marks in physics. In boards, I got a merit certificate specially issued by the board that was issued to only 4 or 5 students in our school. I got all of those, okay? But I did not learn physics, if I tell you. I just read physics. That was the difference. Now, after class 10, before going to Kota, I wanted to learn physics. And that's when I tapped into class 9 NCERT. See, I had R.S. Agarwal, I had S. Chand, I had Dinesh, Super Simplified Physics, and I had one more book. But they were all bullshit at the end, I realized. They were of no use to me like that. All what helped me to develop the concepts to build the insight was solely NCERT. That's why I repeatedly insist you that if you understand the language, if you understand the language of physics by NCERT, you will see as time passes, automatically you will be creating a base over base over base. The faster you can complete this NCERT, see, would you like to take a challenge? Would you like to complete the syllabus of the entire NCERT within the next 2 months? Class 9, shall we do that? If I see all your preparations level are at optimum, I shall even start class 10. Will that be okay? But that will be off the record, okay? That should not come in the record, okay? You know, there are people around who never likes that you study something more. So I also experienced this kind of things when I was at your age. I did not like it. So this thing that you are studying class 10, you are completing class 10 will be off the record, okay? Is that clear? So by the time we get into class 10, maybe we can touch class 11 also. Am I clear on my point? But you have to promise me on one thing. Your performance in the present class should not decrease. Okay? Okay, good. If you can do that, now, I can devote a large amount of time just on doing experiments. I have quite some apparatus set up in my house. So we can do some really cool experiments with physics. Just homegrown, we can do that. The one thing that I really recognize right now, physics without experiments is just null. There is nothing in physics without experiment. At least at our stage, in the primary stage. So I want you to first appreciate the physics by knowing its story, by doing several experiments. And I want you to indulge your hands on physics experiments. That will give you the insight to perform research, to know more, to do many other things. Are you getting my point? You start with a velocity of 5 meters per second, and finally you get up and you both have a common velocity here. Can you find out this velocity? There is a skateboard in front of you and you want to jump into it. So you start with a velocity of 5 meter per second. The moment you jump on the skateboard, you and skateboard will have a common velocity, right? Because if the two velocities are different, you will slide off. You cannot even balance if you don't have the same velocity, isn't it? I want you to find out that velocity quickly. No, you don't think that it is very high. Only because your answer came up to be very high, you became doubtful. Because you know that the answer is supposed to come. Let us try this, okay? Just see from a fresh perspective. Initially, let us take this direction as positive. So initially the momentum was 48 into 5 kg meter per second, right? Yes. Finally, both of them are with a particular velocity. So why not consider this entire system? So this is 48 kg plus 2 kg, which is 50 kg into V. Okay. So V came out to be 4.8 meter per second. We find that's the same thing, Ray. You just did 48V plus 2V. You just did this. I directly wrote 50V. That is the only difference. This is because I took both of them as a system because both of them are having the same velocity. What's the point in just making them different? No point, right? Let me give you an example. Suppose our train is going on a track very fast. Okay, no engine, no nothing. You keep on putting weights on it. It will become slower and slower and slower now. That is what has happened. That is what has happened here indirectly. Okay, it has become a little bit slower right now. Okay, there are many interesting problems with this, but you need calculus to do that. Anyway, okay, so let's see it. There are two types of conversions. Okay, this is important. Please, everybody note this. One is kilometer per hour to meter per second, and the other is meter per second to kilometer per hour. Okay. Now 1 kilometer per hour is 1 kilometer by 1 hour. 1 kilometer is 1000 meters and 1 hour is 3600 seconds. So if you cut them out, it will become 5 by 18. So 1 kilometer per hour is equal to 5 by 18 meters per second. Is this clear? So 50 kilometer per hour will be 50 into 5 by 18 meter per second. To convert into meter per second, you just multiply with a factor of 5 by 18. That's the shortcut. Okay. And just to do the opposite, what do? 18 by 5. Because 1 meter per second will be equal to 18 by 5 kilometer per hour. So how? 3.6. 18.5 is 3.6 if you calculate this. So you keep it in the form of 18 by 5. That's better. Is this clear? If you have to convert kilometer per hour, this is the rule for any type of conversion rate. If you have to convert meter cube to centimeter cube, this is how you do. 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeter into 100 centimeter into 100 centimeter. So this becomes 10 to the power 6 centimeter cube. Is this clear? Yes, absolutely so. Absolutely so. That's how you do it. That's how you do any form of conversion, anytime. Okay? Okay. So, I guess metric ton or quintal, something like that. I guess it's, let me see once. Let me check once. Okay. So basically this is actually what conservation of momentum is. Okay, this kind of problems are expected to be done from you. Do another problem. Suppose this is a ball of mass m1 moving with a velocity of 5 meter per second, and this is a mass m2 moving in this direction with a velocity of 7 meter per second. If they collide and at the moment of collision they come to rest, find m1 by m2. This is very easy. You did everything. Okay. So basically this is the initial situation and this is the final situation. So in the initial situation, can you tell me what is the net momentum? Suppose I take this direction to be positive. So initial momentum is equal to the momentum of the first mass, that is 5m1 minus 7m2. And final momentum is how much? 0. So 5m1 is equal to 7m2. m1 by m2 is equal to 7 by 5. I asked m1 by m2, not m2 by m1. Okay, this is the answer. What is the problem with that? Why were you stuck with this? There was nothing in this to get stuck, believe me. So if this is the ratio of masses, then it will surely stop after collision. It will not, if this is the velocity and this is the ratio of masses, it won't go. This is an interesting thing. Because of conservation of momentum. see, actually what happens now, Vishesh, see, we are talking about just particles, okay? We are talking about a very simple system here. When a car collides, there is so much complexities to it. There is an entire rotational motion attached to it. There is force balancing. There are a lot of other complex things that are going on in a car accident. A car accident is not like two marbles coming together. Do you get me? It is a lot more than that, okay? So it's best not to bring car here, okay? Because that would be kind of not a very appropriate example. Because in movies you have seen car accidents, how this happened, right? So it is not that conservation of momentum is not applicable. Yes. Now you need to specify the direction to me. They are with same mass and same velocity. They are with same mass and same velocity. If they are with same mass and same velocity, both of the momentum are same, but they are in opposite direction. So they will cancel out each other. No net momentum. I cannot guarantee whether they will stop or not, but even if they move apart, they will move with the same velocity. This is a topic called as elasticity. Now this is not in our syllabus, it is in class 11. Now how do we understand whether the collision is totally elastic or not? No. There is a certain factor called as elasticity. What is an elastic collision? An elastic collision is when there is no other energy loss. If there is any kind of collision or such, there is some sound energy that goes off, there is some heat energy that is dissipated. There are many losses. So actually, in nature, the collisions are not elastic in nature. Okay, they are somehow towards inelastic side. So this is the reason why there can be several possibilities of the net momentum in the final situation being 0. See, the net momentum can be 0. The net momentum of two objects can be 0 even if they are at rest, or they are moving in the same velocity in opposite direction. So both the cases are kind of equivalent. You cannot judge. So this kind of completes the chapter. What do I want from you now? I want you to be done with all the inside questions of NCERT and also the exercise questions of NCERT. There are many problems.